Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Olajide Bello. First, the headlines. President Bola Tinubu set to depart Abuja Sunday for 78th session of United Nations General Assembly in New York. Issues surrounding ozone layer preservation on the front burner as world marks the day. Vice President Shatima at the ongoing G77 plus China Leaders Summit underscores importance of international cooperation towards maximizing opportunities and resolving challenges. And after a successful outing at the G20 summit in New Delhi, India, President Bola Tinubu is scheduled to depart Abuja on Sunday for New York, where he will participate in the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, which will be his first as the Nigerian leader. The theme of the UNGA is rebuilding trust and reigniting global solidarity, accelerating action on the 2030 agenda and its sustainable development goals towards peace, prosperity, progress and sustainability for all. On September 19, the first day of the high-level general debate of the 78th UNGA session, President Tinubu will deliver his inaugural national statement. Before engaging in the general debate, the president will join other world leaders to participate in the high-level political forum on sustainable development UN 2023 summit on SDGs. President Tinubu's address will encompass several issues such as sustainable development, climate change, global cooperation, and the imperative to address inequalities and global humanitarian crisis. The Sustainable Development Goals, which is one of the framework that no one argues but everyone can see themselves in, are good for people and good for the planet. Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed stated this in a conversation with journalists at the UN headquarters in New York. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports.
World leaders and up to 5,000 partners from civil society, the private sector, academia, and major stakeholders groups are expected next week at UN headquarters for the SDG Summit, which is also a high-level week for the UN General Assembly. Amina Mohammed said the best way to prevent and tackle conflicts, climate change, unconstitutional change in governments is the one framework and investments which are related to every one of those 17 goals in the Sustainable Development pledged to Agenda 2030.
Globally, we see that 15% is what we've been able to do on the targets. It's abysmal. It's a sobering fact that we will come into in the General Assembly. But the week is about turning things around. We've got the tools. What we need to come to is with much more determination with those solutions on how we can get this done.
Administrator of the United Nations Development Programme, Achim Steiner, said,
"The development we want is not feasible right now. Instead, we have to take the growth we can get. And it is at that interface between sustainable development, the 2030 agenda, and the harsh economic and fiscal realities that the future of the SDGs will play out."
The 78th session of the UN General Assembly opens Tuesday, 5th September 2023, and will host the high-level general debates. Adebola Brookslyn, NTA News.
In 1994, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 16th September the International Day for the Preservation of Ozone Layer, commemorating the date of the signing in 1987 of the Montreal Protocol of substances that deplete the ozone layer. How has man and the planet fared in the last 36 years? Charles Alpha will tell us.
The ozone layer, a fragile shield of gas, protects the Earth from the harmful portion of the rays of the sun, helping it to preserve human health and ecosystems by limiting the harmful ultraviolet radiation from reaching the Earth. A number of chemicals commonly used by man have been found to be extremely damaging to the ozone layer. They are halocarbons, chlorofluorocarbons, and hydrochlorofluorocarbons.
Many ozone-depleting substances were also climate-warming gases, so phasing them out has slowed global warming.
The ozone layer, some say, traps a type of radiation called ultraviolet radiation, or light, which can penetrate organisms' protective layer like skin.
The ozone layer helps to bring about the balance in the environment all around the soil, the air.
The ultraviolet B, which is the cause of skin conditions like sunburns, cancers, and premature aging, can also damage DNA molecules in plants and animals if man's activities were to be uncontrolled. This year's Ozone Day is held under the theme Montreal Protocol, Fixing the Ozone Layer and Reducing Climate Change. It highlights and reiterates the positive impacts of the Montreal Protocol on ozone layer recovery and reducing climate impacts. The principal aim of the Montreal Protocol is to protect the ozone layer by taking measures to control total global production and consumption of substances that deplete it.
That the Montreal Protocol has postponed the first ice-free Arctic summer by up to 15 years, buying time for the onset of changes of our climate system, including positive consequences for ecosystems and communities. As we mark World Ozone Day, I call on governments and industry to work ever harder under the Kigali Amendment to phase down HFCs and make cooling equipment more energy efficient.
In Nigeria, efforts are on by governments to raise awareness among the public on the important work of the Montreal Protocol in safeguarding the planet and harmful effects of ozone layer depletion. There are those who think phasing out of the uses of ozone-depleting substances have not only helped to protect the ozone layer for this and future generations, but have also contributed significantly to global efforts to address climate change. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Meanwhile, in commemoration of the International Day of the Preservation of the Ozone Layer, the Federal Ministry of Environment, the United Nations and partners joined other climate advocates in Abuja to raise awareness on the need to respond quickly to calls on the reduction or complete phase-out of ozone-depleting substances by individuals and manufacturing industries. Charles Alpha again reports.
Man's quest for industrialization has seen the development and production of chemicals that are harmful to the ozone layer. Chlorofluorocarbons and hydrochlorofluorocarbons are chemicals used as coolants by air conditioning and refrigerating industries known to causing damages to the ozone layer. The United Nations Development Programme and partners in commemorating the day are raising awareness against the use of these substances.
People must realize that they must fight, they must kick against any activities that will affect the ozone, thereby fighting the climate change. We're trying to sensitize our members and even the sellers of the refrigerants today that, number one, we want them to begin to work towards the reduction of the current refrigerants we are using, because the current ones we are using are those ones that are affecting the ozone.
The ozone layer in its healthy state, those here say, is expected to restore the stratospheric layer by 2065, avoiding 443 million cases of skin cancer, which approximately accounts for 2.3 million skin cancer deaths and more. By 2065, avoiding 400 cases of skin cancer deaths and more. By 2065, avoiding 400. The Federal Ministry of Environment, in line with the Montreal Protocol, says it has achieved a 100% phase-out of over 4,000 metric tons of ozone-depleting substances in energy efficiency of cooling equipment. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Many thanks, Charles, and we do apologize for some hitches in the course of that report. And now to discuss issues surrounding the commemoration of the World Ozone Layer Preservation Day is the National Ozone Officer, Abdul Idris, who is an engineer. Engineer Abdul Idris, you're welcome to NTA International News.
Thank you very much for having me here today. Thank you.
Okay, commemoration of the preservation of the World Ozone Layer Day is an effort towards mitigating climate change. Help us put into proper perspective the importance of this day.
Thank you for this question. The World Ozone Day was designated by United Nations General Assembly to commemorate the day and the date the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer was signed. The Montreal Protocol is a multilateral environmental agreement put in place for the control of the production and consumption of ozone depleting substances.
Okay, what are some of these ozone depleting substances and practices that deplete the ozone layer, and how does the ozone layer get depleted?
Okay, thank you very much. Mainly, ozone depleting substances are man-made chemicals used as a refrigerant in the refrigeration and air conditioning sector, and they are also used as a blowing agent in the production of rigid foam. So in Nigeria, mainly we use ozone depleting substances in the refrigeration and air conditioning sector, but the practices, the technicians do flare these gases, and it goes directly to deplete the ozone layer. So what we intend to do is to continue the training of technicians on good refrigeration practices, so that they will not emit these substances into the atmosphere.
Okay, on the part of the government, are there plans of phasing out those ozone depleting substances as well as guaranteeing a safe refrigerating practice?
Yeah, Nigeria is signatory to the Montreal Protocol, and for over past 30 years, we have been phasing out ozone depleting substances in accordance to the Montreal Protocol ODS phase-out schedules. Mainly, our plan now is to see that our transition to ozone-friendly and climate-friendly technologies, we put in place a training and certification program for our technicians, because most of these substances that is approved to be introduced as alternative to ozone depleting substances have a flammability issue, toxicity, and high pressure. So we are going to collaborate with the relevant authority to see that we enforce that only trained and certified technicians are allowed to carry out ozone practices in Nigeria.
Okay, Engineer Idris, just before I let you go, any advice to Nigerians and the global community to ensure the ozone layer is preserved?
Number one, we have a lot of programs, especially awareness on how to buy ozone-friendly products, and as time goes on, we are going to be carrying out a lot of awareness, sensitization, training, and capacity building of the public on this ozone layer protection. Thank you.
All right, many thanks, the National Ozone Officer, Engineer Abdul Idris, for your input.
Thank you very much.
Moving on now, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency says Nigeria might not experience devastating storms like that of Libya, but climate change remains a threat to the social and economic well-being of citizens. Director General of the agency, Professor Mansour Matazu, in a chart with some media representatives, says government at all levels should give priority to early warnings. Musa Aliu has details.
The rainy season this year and the rainfall pattern remain unstable as predicted early this year by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency (NIMET). However, thunderstorms and cloudy conditions that will be accompanied by flash floods are expected in some cities in the coming days. Professor Mansour says the expected weather will not be as severe as experienced in some African countries.
That this year in Nigeria we are not expecting a high intensity. We are just having an average weather conditions and climatic condition with some pockets of above and below. And we have seen this happening in Maiduguri, Bauchi, Yola, that they had to pray for rain for some weeks ago.
Nigeria's Weather Watch Agency has been recognized by the United Nations Systematic Observations Financing Facility and saddled with the responsibility of offering assistance and technical support to 5 African countries.
It has been confirmed globally that if people get early warning of any imminent hazard, weather hazard, you are bound to reduce casualty by more than 70%. So, but if they get the information 1 week, it will increase. The way we give our seasonal climate prediction, almost 6 months in advance. So that is a very good lead time. And based on this, the United Nations gathered people financing facility, all these development banks, including World Bank. So they've contributed money, and it's through this money that they say, okay, bigger nations should help weaker ones. And that was how they identified Nigeria, that we are assisting Niger, we are assisting Liberia, we are assisting Sierra Leone, we are assisting Burkina Faso, and also Somalia on this 5-year project. And this is just the first phase.
NIMET is looking at the possibility of establishing a radio station for easy dissemination of climate change information and weather prediction to the public. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. More reports when we return. Many thanks for being there. International cooperation is the compass and the most realistic path towards maximizing opportunities and resolving challenges. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this in his address to the world leaders at the ongoing G77 plus China Leaders Summit at the Palace Convention, Havana, Cuba. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Gathered here are head of states and government, delegates from over 100 countries from the global south, with Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima representing the country, emphasizing on partnership for finding realistic solutions to global challenges. He expressed Nigeria's commitment to tow the path of partnership with member states of the G7 and China towards addressing global challenges. Themed current development challenges, the role of science, technology and innovation, the Vice President underscored the prominent role which science, technology and innovation have played in resolving challenges. From pandemic to paradigm shift, Nigeria's road to reinvention was a paper delivered by the Vice President, noting that science and technology have shaped the course of nations.
Nigeria stands as a beacon of youthful talent and innovation. These young citizens are not only dedicated to integrating human elements into the evolving technological sphere, but their efforts also expand to diverse fields, ranging from telemedicine to the automation of agriculture, all with the aim of making our daily lives more seamless.
The Vice President said Nigeria is contributing its own share in leveraging science, technology and innovation to resolving challenges such as COVID-19 and the climate crisis.
Allow me to reiterate Nigeria's commitment to partnering with our fellow member nations of the G77 and China. We shall champion initiatives that harness the potential of science, technology, and innovation to confront economic challenges, particularly within the global south. Nigeria also looks forward to the adoption of the Havana Declaration and its complete implementation for the betterment of our people and our region.
President of Cuba and chair of the G7 and China, Miguel Diaz-Canel, lamented the precarious situations faced by developing countries who are member states. He noted that science, technology and innovation have only benefited developed countries, while the global south is largely facing very serious challenges, calling for collective wisdom to address the challenges. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres in his brief remarks, also noted the development problems confronting developing countries and promised the United Nations system will continue to work with the G7 and China to provide solutions to these challenges. Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
The summit of the Group of 77 plus China, which kicked off at the Palace of Conventions in Havana, was presided over by Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Adebola Brooksland, who has more on the summit, reports that members of the Cuban leadership, including former President Raul Castro, also participated actively.
The group of the Global South is aimed at promoting a new economic world order. They are looking at science and technology, innovation and economic cooperation, a point emphasized by President Diaz-Canel in his opening remarks.
Let us fight for a right to development, which is also the right to exist as a species. Only then will we be in a position to participate in the scientific technical revolution on an equal footing. Only then will we be able to occupy the place that is rightfully ours.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on the alliance to work hard to make the goals of developing nations a reality.
The voice of the G77 plus China will always be essential at the United Nations. And I count on your group, who have long been champions of multilateralism, to step up, to use our power and fight. Champion a system rooted in equality. Champion a system ready to reverse the injustice and neglect of centuries. And champion a system that delivers for all humanity and not only for the privileged.
During the plenary session, some representatives of various G77 member states put forth their concerns.
Where we have shared experiences, those shared experiences must be translated into structured, shared expressions in solidarity, in our interest and the interest of humanity.
China is the world's largest developing nation. We are ready to work with Cuba and other G77 members to open a new chapter in South-South cooperation, requested for greater development through stronger solidarity.
Cuba, January this year, took on the rotating presidency of the G77 plus China. Adebola Brooksland, NTA News.
And away from the G77 plus China summit, the Nigerian Senate, under the leadership of Senator Godswill Akpabio, is stable, harmonious and committed towards a greater and better Nigeria. In a statement, Seme Yibo, the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the President of the Senate, while reacting to what he called syndicated reports in some media, said suggestions that some senators are engaged in subversive plots against the institution is uncharitable. The statement adds that linking senators with needless conspiracy against the leadership is rather unkind. Mr. Yibo urged the media not to give into conspirational tales, pointing out that senators who are presently concluding their holidays have since gone past the experience of the keenly contested leadership election, as even those who initially did not support the emergence of the current leadership have all unanimously endorsed the Senator Akpabio-led leadership. And imagine the plight of caregivers of visually impaired persons. With about 2 million completely blind Nigerians, the challenge can only be better imagined. It is against this background that eye caregivers, in line with the 2023 Worldside Day, visited Ndako community in Abuja. Adebola Brooksland reports.
Available records show that there are about 43 million persons across the world virtually impaired. Of this number, more than 82% of them are 50 years and older. The visit by Telish Eye Center to Nako village, a community in Kabusa, a suburb of the Federal Capital Territory, is to make eye care not only accessible but available and affordable to residents. From registration to visual acuity, refraction, eye muscle examination, and measurement of eye pressure as well as consultation were the services they offered.
The reason I came here, every time my eye is scratching me, and you people come and you help us with the medicine, and it's for free.
A friend called me that there's a free medical checkup for eye, so I decided to come. That is why you see me smiling when I was coming out. I'm satisfied with all the conditions that have given me.
Owing to the large population, members of the eye center returned to the same venue this second day to cover more grounds.
We see them, we screen, we diagnose cases, we refer them, we operate those that need surgery even for free, So we noticed that one day has never been adequate enough.
Eye caregivers appealed to governments and well-meaning Nigerians to support the projects.
I'm sure you saw what we saw there. Someone that just a little thing, not treated, escalated. Now a lot of them need surgical attention.
Focusing on eye health in the workplace is the theme of this year's celebration.
You see welders welding without their goggles. That is wrong. We need to be able to protect the eyes from those harmful effects from the computers. So employers should ensure that they create an environment that protects the eyes of their employees while they are on duty. The drugs are free, the examination is free. Some of them have been picked for surgery. All will be done free.
Very happy. I'm praying for them, the company, to still have more to help other communities that they are around within my village. Because we have eyes problem. We take bad water.
The second Thursday in October every year since year 2000 is celebrated as World Sight Day. Adebola Brookslyn, NTA News.
And that's it on the news on NTA International. Many thanks for being a part of it. I am Olajide Bello.